Not sure when I'll cover it, but rest assured that I'll be doing Crysis 2 and 3 at some point. Ugh. Why did I do this to myself? Breaking format today. Usually, I start these off with a cold open from some clip in the game that sets the tone for the video, and follow it up with a montage of gameplay over one of the game's tracks to show its appeal, and to humble brag about my performance. But not for this video.
Alcatraz ain't talking much this morning. Contrary to popular belief, people, tequila is not good for your health. Right, Al? Just nod your head. We'll know you're alive. Come on, man. Show some interest.
Look, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't care for Crysis 2. I was meh on Crysis, and more than meh on Warhead, but Crysis 2 was sludge to me. If you like it, I'm sorry you have to hear that from me, but I can't fuck with it. I think it's cowardly for throwing out the jungle environment. You know, the thing that made Crysis stand out from its contemporaries, just so it could cozy up to a console market with its urban jungle setting. I think the shift from Special Agent trained in the Nanosuit to a voiceless FNG just robs the game of personality, and it takes the wrong lessons from both Half-Lives and Calls of Duty Modern Warfares. Also, for a sequel to the game that spawned the PC Master Race meme, I find it insane that not only does this game not provide manual saves, again, it's courting the console market, so it's going to feature autosaves and checkpoints because that was the style at the time. But the game's menu doesn't let you reload the previous checkpoint without quitting to the main menu. Binary Domain and Vanquish are contemporary games that dropped a few years before Crysis 2, and they have that available. And they're from Japanese studios, and those guys were tripping over their feet trying to cater to American taste at the time. The only thing I find endearing about the game is how quaint the story is in 2025. Aliens are attacking New York City, and you know how your Marine Squad responds to that?
Man, I heard it was an alien invasion.
Yeah, right. Illegal aliens.
Also, a plague that's killing people in droves has upset the delicate balance of society. Ooh, topical, right? No, this was in 2011. You know what we were scared of back then? Ebola. I know the current administration is absolute cheeks about everything, but there is a contingent of people out there who are nostalgic about the Bush era, and this game's existence is a gentle reminder for how fucking stupid everything was back then. Remember when Kojima introduced the concept of private military companies to gaming back in 2008? Well, we're fighting not Blackwater, and for hired professionals, they are anything but professional.
Hargreave wants the suit! That's what he'll get!
He isn't gonna like this, and last time I checked, we both
That's
worked
where you're
for
wrong,
him.
Miss Strickland! You work for him! I answer to the Cell Executive Board on the DOD! I don't give a shit what some senile old shareholder like Hargreave may or may not like!
That's majority shareholder and former president of the Crynet board. You want to be careful what enemies you make here, Lockharts.
This conversation is over!
I like how they're fighting like this, but have to sit next to each other on the chopper. That's such an awkward situation to be in. Why would you do that? Throughout the whole game, you are not a person. You are a hot potato that the voices in your head pass around. This guy wants you to meet him in his apartment and go to Not Blackwater's HQ. Not Blackwater's CEO wants you to go do a bunch of things for him and then harvest your body.
All right, that's it. Perfect. Thank you, Miss Strickland. Exemplary. Check his vitals, would you, then have him moved across to the skinning lab. We need to get him prepped as soon as possible. Time is very much against us.
Get him. Nice hit.
Where are we taking this Freeman guy? Topside for questioning. What the hell for? We got him. Let's kill him now. And if they find the body? Body? What body?
Oh, one of the Not Blackwater people turns out to be Alex Vance. Or Barney because she's working on the inside. I lost track of who was what.
All right, look, there'll be time to explain later. Right now, the Ceph are breaking into this place, and we gotta get Hargreave out.
Now you're Ramirez and have to do everything.
Alcatraz, over here! Punch it, man, let's go!
Alcatraz, get the gates open!
Alcatraz, get back here! We'll cover you!
Alcatraz! Ramirez!
Now you met Dr. Breen, but he's not Dr. Breen, he's actually Mr. House. Would you kindly inject yourself with that atom? By the way, being able to reduce the game's story beats to references to other more well-known games isn't good. My favorite NPC moment is when you're with the Marines and you've got a few not Blackwater guys detained, and one of them goes, "I was one of you." And the Marine replies, "You went private, you don't count, you lost your rights." I'm sorry, but does the United States Armed Forces, during the Bush era, have the moral high ground here?
Good to see you, man. Listen, I finally worked out.
Later, Professor, you could give the lecture en route. This way, let's go!
This game is scummy, not because it's political in any degree, but because it pretends to be political, but doesn't actually have a backbone on any position. This is median voter media. Price of egg shit. There's a point where you evac with the Marines and the Hummer you're on stops to wait for a pair of civilians, but one of them is pinned down by rubble, while the other struggles to rescue her. Eventually, the vehicle abandons them because the building towering above is gonna fall down on all of them, and the two don't make it. If only there was someone nearby who had the strength to move that rubble and the speed to react fast enough before the building fell. Oh wait, there was! You! And the game shits the bed at giving your guy a hero moment because it's using the situation to heighten the stakes in a game that has not earned your personal investment. You'll see NPCs dying of not Ebola, but there's no way to interact with them. They are literally there to show you that shit's fucked. Okay, none of that had anything to do with the game's stealth mechanics, but I had to put that out there before I go any further about the gameplay, or else I was gonna go nuts. I've restarted the making of this video like 3 times now. I've scrapped all my previous recording attempts, so I can't show off what it looks like when I was struggling to understand this game. Bear in mind, I'm coming at Crysis 2 from the angle of a stealth playthrough. I'm trying to minimize combat, and make use of whatever tools are on hand to get out of situations with minimal to zero detection. If you've watched my video on the first game and its expansion, you'll know that the biggest thing holding back Crysis' gameplay was how piddly the Nanosuit's energy meter was. Move too much while sprinting or cloak or armor is active and you'll burn out. There are ways to mitigate the meter consumption, but it involves you crab walking by moving around using cloak, and then going prone while at max speed until the meter refills. Crysis 2's meter is much better, but it still feels like it's never enough when you're moving, because you'll always have to stop and wait for it to recharge. Crytek removed the prone stance, and your sprint speed is capped to a standard COD game, so we can't rely on the crab walking meta anymore. This is where I can point out the best feature of Crysis 2, and it's the level design. But wait, I just said that I didn't like Crysis 2 going from jungle to city, but that's my judgment on the environment, not how the game blocks out its areas. There are plenty of points of hard cover where you can tuck into and wait for the meter to recharge before heading back out. Just like the first game, enemy detection is that annoying combination of having near infinite range, so you should always avoid being out in the open if you're not cloaked, and enemies having practically instant telepathy and knowing your position once one of them goes down. There's this attempt at showing an alert phase by having the enemy shoot a flare into the sky to call for backup, but it doesn't really matter because if they're already suspicious of your position, they're just gonna call for help anyways. Like, even if you're cloaked up and crouch walking, they still have the sixth sense of your presence, and if you get too close, they'll panic and set off an alarm. Paradoxically, humans are harder to sneak by than aliens. As soon as you drop one of them, one of their buddies starts panicking and moving towards their body. Aliens do this as well, but they spend more time standing in place or following their patrol path. My original draft of this video was just bitching and moaning about how this game doesn't really cater to a stealth playstyle because the only viable method is to avoid combat entirely. And after a third run of the game, I'm realizing that's partially true. It is usually better to leave enemies alone and sneak towards the objective because it keeps the area quiet, but that doesn't mean we can't have some fun along the way. Unlike the first game, Crysis 2 is a dedicated stealth takedown action. Thing is, it's bad. You gotta wait behind a target for the game to realize it and make the action available. Do it too early, and you bop the enemy instead and give away your position. You can still grab enemies, but you no longer have a free hand to hold a pistol, so you can't do the double takedown trick in the first game. Also, every enemy wears a helmet, human and alien, so it's less satisfying to give them the North Korean handshake when they can't give you the look of hand-shading horror as a reward. Now, Crysis always had the stupid rule that firing any weapon while cloaked will automatically burn out your meter, leaving you exposed to nearby enemies. But it's all good, because I found a workaround. first, we'll need the right gear. For humans, get a sniper rifle and a shotgun. Make sure you put silencers on both of them. Whenever a human guard is standing in place, scope in, but do not fire your gun just yet, or you'll burn through your energy meter if you're cloaked up. Instead, either decloak or switch to armor mode before firing your gun. This prevents you from spending all of your energy when the shot goes off. Once you've confirmed the kill, immediately cloak up again. You can train your muscle memory to pull this off in seconds, and that's entirely due to Crysis 2 removing leaning. Don't worry, it wasn't that good in Crysis anyways, and mapping armor and cloak to Q and E instead. Make sure to only pick safe kills. That is, you're not in another enemy's line of sight when you send a shot, or else all hell will break loose. And even if that happens, you can still cloak up and reposition, but the room's gonna be a lot tougher to clear than if everyone remained clueless. If you can guarantee a stealth takedown or choke kill without giving yourself away, don't be afraid to seize the chance. There are some fights you can't sneak away from, so you'll have to make use of the room's cover to do the same tactics in tight spots. You can't take down a chopper without rockets, and they also need the same kind of maneuver as you don't reload the rocket unless you stop aiming. So aim, decloak, fire, recloak, and stop aiming to reload. Aliens are simpler creatures, as you can use stealth takedowns from behind or chokeholds from any other angle, but be wary of how long the animations play out, as your buddies can spot you in the act. Basic runs take 2 to 3 shotgun blasts, depending on how close you are. The elite units, you can spot them with their red shields and pointier helmets, are stronger, so you'll need to be either really lucky with the stealth takedown prompts, or just keep bashing them until their shields drop and they behave like regular grunts. The heavy units, the big boys with the shields, are the strongest infantry unit in the game, so make sure you toss 2 C4 charges on them before detonating.
All targets neutralized!
Some missions involve you activating alien terminals to sabotage your operation. It is a saving grace that Crysis 2 does not make you decloak to do this action, so you can sneak right up to these terminals and complete the objective without having to fire a shot. I swear, I'm not trying to make these cut-ins a recurring bit, but as I'm doing pickup shots for stuff I missed the first time, I keep finding new exploits. One of the issues with grabbing enemies is that you don't get the action if you're directly behind them if you're cloaked up. Turns out, the workaround here is to decloak. See, the tutorial for stealth kills instructs you to go into cloak and then perform the action. But if you're not cloaked and you're behind an enemy, then you get the grab action. So, just like the decloak sniper trick, we can train ourselves to get behind an enemy, decloak, grab them, and cloak up while moving away. This is much more efficient than a stealth kill because you're not locked in place while performing the animation, so there's less chance of an enemy spotting you in the act. I don't think this will work for elite aliens as their shields prevent you from grabbing them. You either have to take their shields away or go for stealth kills. Okay, back to final thoughts. So does gaming Crysis 2 stealth improve the experience? No, not really. All my issues with the game itself are still there, and I still have to reload checkpoints when things get too pear-shaped if I'm trying to show off how to get by with stealth. The level design is definitely better, and the game even gives you hints on how to approach each zone if you pull up the binoculars and look at points of interest, but I can't deny that the game's color palette going from lush greens to drab off-whites and browns is a severe downgrade. The upgrade system sounds good on paper, but I have no incentive to choose any other passive skill besides improved energy consumption while cloaked or armored up. Several plot points in the game require you to be immobile or black out, and I find it to be a narrative crutch that the game frequently leans on when they don't know how to close a chapter. You know how I said that Crysis 2 kept reminding me of other games? There's a moment in the midpoint of the campaign where you attack the headquarters of the company that made the Nanosuit, and you have to dock it to a chair like an iPhone to update the firmware. Once that happens, Not Blackwater conveniently shows up and takes you hostage. Then you have to walk out of the building for some other crap to happen. Thing is, you're not actually walking in the segment. On my third run, I took my hands off the keyboard to see how much input was needed for the sequence, and it turns out the answer was 0. Even though there's a guy nudging you to push on, it's the game moving the character, not you. You know what this reminded me of? Remember at the end of Half-Life 2 when you're at the Citadel to rescue everyone, and you jump into one of those Amazon wage cages that brings you all the way up to see Dr. Breen? I appreciate this moment in Half-Life 2 because at least the game was honest with me about how I no longer have agency in this segment. I'm literally on rails. This sequence in Crysis 2 plays out for what feels like half an hour, and once I do get control, I black out anyways. What was even the point of giving me control again? I'll cap off my experience of the game with a final anecdote. Once I meet Dr. Breen or Mr. House or whatever the hell I've been calling him, and shoot up on Adam, I have to leave the room before the aliens get me. Do you know what's waiting for me outside that room? Fucking office complex from Half-Life. And that's Crysis 2. No promises in Crysis 3. I'm not setting myself up like that again. Load a saved game. Wait, it actually saves all of your checkpoints that you've played through? You just can't access it from the in-game menu? Ooh, fuck this game.